Excellent, Hammond. Welcome back. It's been a little while since the last one. Good to have you here again.
Excited this new year. Yeah, exciting.
New year, new me, they say.
Yes, and we have big targets this year in Ecom Capital.
We do. So let's jump in and maybe I think it would be good to discuss and maybe share some of the targets, the goals, what we want to achieve this year. I think probably with our brands, with our clients and the community and some of the stores we're working with and the brands we're looking to scale. Maybe if you want to share a little bit about what we were able to achieve last year, and then we can kind of, start to switch into this year.
Yes, of course. So yeah, last year was an exciting year in terms of growth because we cannot always not only how you can do it once, but how you can do it consistently. And this is kind of the challenge in e-commerce is really the consistency element, I would say, particularly understanding all the moving part, creating a system that just works, right? And that's
Mm.
what we worked on. Now, in terms of growth last year, we had a lot of, I would say, success in terms of growing stores from 0 to 10K. And we were pretty much getting to the point where every week we have a store reaching 10K. So it drove that's I think a big milestone for us, just getting that
Mm.
consistency and let's say systemizing for businesses. Now, this is just the start, in my opinion, in terms of scaling, because we're
Yeah,
looking at not only getting 10K, and I mentioned this in many calls, is that the goal is bigger. It's not 10K. 10K is just it's
of
just
course.
I'd say a small target. You want to get to a
Yeah.
business where you're hiring people, you have something that you're proud of, and you have something that actually you can sell and exit for multi-million or even let's say more, and that's the big picture. It's not just let's
Yeah.
say 10K, and that's what we're looking
I
at
think
here.
10K kind of gives people a little it kind of shows people that it's real is really the way that I see it. And I think that's just to clarify what you said. So like last year, I think, yeah, every 7 days we had a new founder reaching their first $10,000. And I think that's really cool. Like even me thinking about that, I'm like to be able to help people achieve that, that's pretty special. What do you think we did in the company or with the team, with the coaches, with the strategists that was able to achieve those results? And then we'll switch into some stuff that we have up and coming for this new year.
Yes, of course. So what we did was pretty much looking at all the inputs, because when you're doing something, let's say alone, and you're trying to, let's say, test something in the ads or do something, let's say you're just like launching. You're really in an environment where it's all about how to get there, but you don't know how to, like, you don't know exactly, I would say, the road to get there. So what we worked on was pretty much not only using experienced people, which again I'm looking at always as an asset, but also looking at all the volume that we get in terms of signals on what's working and what's not, and
Mm.
kind of focusing on that to scale to higher numbers. So all the account management team, the coaches, we're looking at everything that's working for our big brands and kind of leveraging that for other levels. And that just helped
Right.
unlock a lot of, I would say, doors for others. So it's really using the community in a positive way where we have,
Mm.
some really good, strategies that are working. You just implement that versus you doing it alone and you know what's working. You don't have access to, let's say, 50 different brands on what they're doing exactly in terms of ads, in terms of
Mm.
structure, hooks, everything. So I think that's a game changer, particularly in a lot of my calls. I try to not only just say, hey, let's do this. I literally open the store, load it. We're doing, let's say, 160K per month in this store. This is what we're doing. And when I mentioned this, like
Mm.
with a lot of people, like, hey, this is they're doing 160K, and we're kind of starting out. So it's not only about the mindset, but also giving that, I would say, confidence. And this is like you see it. It's not just me telling you we have a store doing 160K a month in the back end. I'm literally loading the Shopify, clicking and showing the ad, showing the copy, how I'm doing it. So it's like, systemizing, but also using data and scaling. So that's, I think, the main element, particularly in increasing the ad spend to get results. A lot of people were not getting results, I would say, in the e-commerce space in the past because they're just coming in thinking they should focus on the store, focus on the
Yeah.
stock, and they ignore the ads. So our focus is purely how can we run more ads? How can we push more traffic? And that's, I think, the difference with, to say what's happening in the market, but versus what we help others kind of focus on. So yeah.
I agree. I agree. What about I want to talk maybe just a little bit. We'll close off a little bit with this in terms of the tracking because I know you're like a Nazi when it comes to the
That's
tracking
true.
journal, updating that sheet, making sure it's done. But it drives so much accountability, and I think the clients get so much benefit from it. And I see also the benefit that comes from them knowing I did this and it created that. So
Yes.
maybe just touch on that a little bit because I know you introduced that into the community maybe
Yes.
last quarter or the quarter before. And I know people really initially they were like, oh, the journal,
Complicated. It's
right? It's
difficult,
complicated. So
challenging.
just talk, yeah, talk about that a little bit because I think it's been really
Yes.
helpful.
Yeah, of course. So, with the tracking, actually, it was more of like when you're coaching someone, and I'm always looking at how can we really have a good view on what you did and what I can do to help you get there faster. So, anytime you're looking at, an e-commerce store, someone would, if I was to change something in the store and I would run an ad, same ad, I might have a different performance. So, as a coach, if I'm looking at your store and I'm looking at your ads and I don't know what you did last week or last 2 days
Mm,
or even yesterday, then I don't have a log like of all the things that you did. Keep in mind that what I'm asking here about like tracking is not just what you did in the store, it's what you did in your ad account, it's what you did in school, everything. I'm tracking your time. I'm literally looking
mm,
at your efficiency in terms of your resources, and I'm thinking about your time and your actions. So getting that information right away in a coaching session is pretty much you get the best decision making right away with all the elements. So I'm trying to
right.
remove all the potential, I would say, gaps that I don't see. It's literally like you're driving a car and you have like a blind spot and you're like, hey, I need to have like that small mirror on the side that I can
Mm,
see the car that's kind of might be like a risk for me. So it's
sure.
more positioning like that. Now, implemented this very aggressively in terms of the community, making sure that every person joining in a coaching session, they have a track of what they're doing. And I've seen massive results because every time we have a problem, literally, I think it was but one of the client, I think her name is Susie. She had like an issue like in her conversion rate that just dipped for 2 weeks because she added a button. And when I looked at the data,
Right.
like, hey, this button here, you have two buttons. One of them like we implemented recently. Can you remove it? She removed it. Her sales doubled. Her ROAS went 4 extra turns. It's like just a button. I'm like, yeah, just a button. We didn't do anything else. Just a small change. So those kind of things, like when you see that happening multiple times, like we need to journal more, and it's going to create
Mm,
a system like things that are we're doing kind of at scale. We need to do them also when we're starting out and kind of making sure that you know what to do when you're in business. And this is, I think you're coming to like a ecom capital, like, hey, I'm coming to learn. I want to get to the next level. I'm sharing with you what we're doing at scale, which is journaling. So you need to implement it right away. So you're getting right
yeah.
away, I would say, the infrastructure to win.
I love that because just as I'm thinking about that right now, it's almost like you're a PT or a fitness coach, and the client comes to you and they show up to the gym and they're on time and they're punctual and they want to train in the gym and they want to lose weight, and then they come back next week and they still look exactly the same, right? And it's like, well, what did you eat over the last 7 days? You know what
What
I mean?
happened?
Like, did you track your calories? Show me all of your macros that you've eaten. And that's kind of the same principle. It's like, show me the ingredients that you're putting into the system, show me the foods that you're eating that's actually creating the changes in the body, except the body's just, an e-commerce business, which
Yes.
is exciting. Yeah.
It's really getting all the information, like what happened. And I feel like every time like an e-commerce owner, he's running ads or he's doing something, I was literally telling like people in the coaching sessions, you're creating the multi-million dollar like blueprint. This is yours. This is your business. You need to be able
Mm,
to come back and be like, hey, 2 years ago, I did this thing. This is how I did it. And I have all
correct.
the track. I have all the actions. Like literally you're creating something for you and you can come back and do it again. So you don't even,
Mm,
have to doubt yourself when you're creating a new product. But some situation where you can come back. It's like the movie, I think Slumdog Millionaire, where he's like answering
mm,
questions based on situations in the past. Same thing, but
yeah.
you're creating a journal. So it's not just trying to remember to get the million. It's pretty much you have it in a Google, right? So it's
Yeah.
really easy. Right?
It's so valuable that because I remember so many like for example Black Friday sales or things in the past where I did not completely do a retrospective and look over all of the particulars in terms of data and which campaigns and what type of offers, and then you get to the one next year and you're like, what happened? What are we going to do this year? And you're like, what did we do last year? Should we look
What
back?
did
And
you
it's like, you just don't know.
Yes.
The information and the data is such a massive component. So yeah, very, very exciting. And then for the up and coming year ahead, I know we're doing a lot of
Yes.
things. We're working with some awesome brands. We've got some amazing people joining the team. We've got some amazing concepts, products, services, different things that we're launching and growing. So talk to us a little bit about what you're projecting for the community, for the
Yes.
brands, what we want to achieve this year.
Course. So my view is, and I've been pretty much saying this to every person that's joining my calls, like we want to make like kind of the situation here is to make more, I would say, of every situation we're in. So let's say you're launching your business, you want to always look to the bigger picture, and we're looking at the same thing from our perspective. We want to make it a bigger, I would say, like kind of
Mm,
I would say in terms of going to the next level in terms of growing stores. So our goal, if I was to look at just numbers, we're looking at scaling to, let's say I mentioned this earlier, like every 7 days we have a founder reaching 10K. We want to get to a level where it's every 2 days we have a person doing that. So we're scaling more in terms of just speed of getting results, and particularly want to hit bigger numbers in terms of every quarter we want to reach 1 million. We want to like to that level in terms of scale, and every month we get a person to get to 100K. So these are our
Right.
targets in terms of scale. But keep in mind that these targets are pretty much just kind of, when you have a, like, let's say a business and you're scaling it, you're thinking about, I want to scale things by just doing more of what's working. So we're just implementing things at speed. So just increasing the speed. And
Right.
that's kind of the goal this year, is really growth by doing more of what's working, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of Patrick Bet-David uses this concept of like going he calls it depth and duration. Right. And so like if you think about what we did last year, say for example, we did nothing else and we just stayed kind of the same and we just kept doing one new founder every 7 days, that would be pretty good. And that would be duration. Like we're just keeping it the same level and we're just consistently doing that. And then depth is saying, okay, so we're doing people to 10K, and then the depth is like, let's do 1 million every quarter, let's do 100K every month, let's do 100K every week. You know what I mean? That's kind of that depth layer that we can introduce, which I'm super excited about. Yeah.
Yes, that's also my view in terms of like in general, like in the e-commerce space. You're coming in, you want to do 10K, right? It's like I want to get to 10K a month, or I want to get to this certain level. But in reality, in e-com, you're not going to just get to 10K. If you have a situation that's working, so you actually created that roadmap and you have like everything, you know how to, let's say, optimize your ads, you know how to optimize your conversion rate, you know how to optimize your AOV. So you know all these metrics that you can improve, then there is no limits. You're just going to look at other problems. Like I need to improve my cash flow. I need to improve, let's say, the hiring process to just kind of grow the team bigger. Then you're kind of solving the $1 million problem, not necessarily a 10K, but you're thinking about, hey, just 10K. And that's something I've been really kind of trying to make sure that people would understand. Like I've never seen a store just get to 10K and they're just staying at 10K for a year or 2 years. I've just
Never,
never seen it.
never,
Never.
never.
And when you reach 10K, the first thing, like, hey, most of the time it's 10K, 40, 50, 100, and you're like, just it's like a it's in ecom, it's like that. It's not like a traditional business where you get to 10K, you stay there for 5 years and like, hey, let's grow a little bit, because you have, let's say, like I don't know, like a hair salon business where you just, you can't scale that fast. Like you're just
Yep.
staying at that level for years. And I've seen this. This is actually why I got into e-commerce. And I was going to some businesses like, hey, your business is the same for like the last 5 years or 10 years. Like it's not exciting. It doesn't feel like there's something growing, like just like the same thing. Like we have the
Right.
same volume, and it's like very consistent. Like for me, that's just a job. Like you just, you're not growing your business
Right.
to a level where you feel like I'm getting like bigger things happening. I'm actually building something big. And in ecom, that's again why I'm so passionate about it, is that you see people doing 10, 50, 100K, and sometimes a million. And you talk to the person like,
Mm.
hey, you just changed your net worth like in the last 90 days. Like, hey, yeah, it's
It's
happened. I'm
it's
surprised.
exponential. It's
Yes.
exponential, isn't it? It's that quick. Yeah, exactly. Question for you. This is just off the script, so to speak. What do you think would be what do you think would be required for us to be able to generate $1 billion annually inside of our community?
So to get to that target, I'm always thinking about like what are the ingredients. It's pretty much you think about like, are we first getting people to 10K? Let's say first thing. If we're doing that, then how can we add in like more of, let's say, scale for those stores? Because that's going to be I'm going to be looking at the volume in terms of sales. Because if we can take the people in the community and kind of push them to the level where they make 100K or 200, or let's say more volume in revenue, then you're going to get your billion just by scaling stores that are in that level. So that's
Volume.
going to be probably, how can we scale more people versus, let's say, having more people in the community, because you want to also keep it kind of I would say a kind of a more controlled community, so that we
Correct.
don't grow too
Correct.
big the number and everyone is kind of, getting all our strategies. So it's
Yep.
really a privilege to be, I think, in a community where we're looking at, hey, let's actually take the people that are doing 10K and make just more money, pretty much scaling
Correct.
them. So that's going to be
Correct.
probably the easiest way, because you have businesses that are coming in and people starting there, let's say they have a brand or they have something already going, and then we can give you all the tools and help you to get there, and you can leverage your own resources. So it's also easier for us to get to that target just by giving you all the things to win, and you can just win. Right? And when you
Yeah.
win, we win. So it's kind of win-win, right? I
Correct.
mentioned the word thing a
Exactly.
lot. Yeah.
That's a big target. That's a big target of mine. I haven't really actually shared that too much in terms of I shared it within our internal team what I'd like to achieve in the next 5 years, generating like $1 billion annually for our clients and all the portfolio brands that we work with. So super excited to make that happen. Another thing that
Knowing
I wanted to share as
knowing you,
well
sorry to cut you off, but knowing you, I know that you're gonna be like, hey, let's do it on 5, let's just do it on 2 years, actually. I'm actually thinking let's do it next year. But, hey,
what
let's do
what
it.
would we need to do to have this happen by 2027? Let's
Let's
do it.
do it. Yes.
Absolutely. And then the other thing I'm really excited about, I've been discussing this and sharing this with some of the tech team and some of the people on the team for a little while now. I keep thinking a lot about like a platform or an app or a kind of yeah, I guess a platform is probably the best way to think about it, whereby the user can kind of come in and have it's almost like an Uber situation where they can track progress of every single thing that they're doing, and they can have access to all of our vendors, all of our partners, all of our suppliers. Like, click this button, get your product selected into our one of our vendor suppliers. Yep, boom, done. The samples are shipped. Click this button, go to one of our videographers. They're going to capture all the content. And so I think in the next 2 years, I really want to look at like taking what we're doing as far as the strategy and then putting it into like an interface that people can actually interact with, and really, really, really simplify that whole user experience down to the point where people just have this seamless, perfect process from start to finish. So yeah, some super, super exciting things up ahead.
So you want to just pretty much make it just where they can come in and have all the resources just on automation. They just click, get it there, and it just like simplifying the processes.
It's
And I think
yeah,
that's exciting. Like really getting that where you just, you come in, everything is kind of just like just buttons, just click on it and you kind of follow
well,
the
it's
system.
it's like you're loading like a rental application or something, and you press stage one, and it's like submit your documents. Boom, submit my documents. Press submit. Next stage. Now answer these questions so we can develop your store. Submit.
Yeah.
Next stage. You know what I mean? It's just like perfectly through that
I
process.
think
Is
actually that would be a game changer in terms of the industry. Like if you can provide like I would say an Airbnb, Uber
correct.
solution for e-commerce, it's going to be the next level. So I really believe this.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing about it, even just visualizing, you've got like this interface, and then in the back end of it, every single like network, every vendor, every partner, every supplier, every coach, every coaching call, every access to everything's just plugged into this thing. So from what looks like a nice, simple, and easy to interface like front end, the back end is this web of all this complexity and connections and stuff that just feeds the machine. So super, super exciting. Yeah, very, very exciting in terms of what we're achieving at the moment. Pumped for the year ahead. Let's go into some
Yes.
of the things that you mentioned there. I know we discussed prior to this, and I think this is a really good concept and a really good subject to think about in terms of what are the maybe ingredients, what things kind of like how do winners think in e-commerce, and how do people who lose, how do they think, and what's the differences?
Yes, and I mentioned this in one of my calls, just in terms of like the view on this particular element, and this actually coming in from uh, overall. I looked at the plans in Shopify, the advanced versus the basic, but it's just looking at brands that are winning versus, let's say, all of the rest of the market. And what I notice is like probably I would say 80 to 20% kind of distribution. So 80% like I would say of the brands that are launching, they don't know what to do, so they're lacking skills, and the
Right.
20% is taking all the market, like everything, and it's easy for them. The reason why they've taken all the market is because they have all the skills. Like they know what to
Yeah.
do. They pretty much it's easy for them. Like when I talk to business owners that are doing 7, 8 figure, it's like it's easy. We just like I think I mentioned this to you earlier, where like I'm looking at even some e-commerce that are doing 2 million, and they're just like cutting on the T and making it like it just run like air. Like, it's a very simple business and it's doing a lot of money. When I compare this to other businesses, I'm like, hey, this is a very efficient way to look at things. And this is the same thing happening in e-com. You have 80% of people kind of trying to figure out things and they don't know what to do, and then 20% just
Mhm.
taking all the market pretty much. And it's all about skills. And that's, I think, something to always reflect on. Like what you're doing, you think that you're like this is your standards, and like I'm working on 2 creatives a week. I'm really working hard.
Mm.
You're not. Another company would do
Mm.
50, and they just they're doing much more volume and they know what they're doing and they have the skills. So you're
Yeah.
lacking skills, but the I would say the element that I've seen kind of again the big gap is lacking skills and standards, or kind of say benchmarks. Like you're just coming in and like, hey, I've been running ads like for the last 2 years, and I'm like, okay, what did you work on? Like, hey, I just run the same ad and I spent 20K. I'm like, that's a problem. Like we cannot
Yeah.
do that. I would say that kind of those kind of gaps in the market, and they're much more, I would say, around skills and kind of standards than anything else. That's my view on it,
Mm.
purely. And I mentioned this.
How do you think
In
that how does like because that's a very pervasive issue. Like thinking about that right now, like there's probably a lot of founders that they're sitting there making 35K a month. I'm thinking about one gentleman at the moment that was just messaging me recently, and he's like, "We've kind of been stuck at this 35K a month level for a while now. It's just, we can't seem to get past it. We're kind of just stagnating, and it's like it's just a very interesting concept to think that like stagnating at that level." So when
That's
you think
actually
about it, because I've got some concepts that I think, but when you think about like why does that happen? What do you think comes to mind?
so. Most of the time, it's like when we talk about 30K, because you already kind of moved from the 0 to 10K, which is the first level, I would say, of like a optimization. So it's a person that I would say, or a business owner that's probably having problem with profit. And that's why they're not scaling. So they're not necessarily identifying the reason why they're not getting to the next level. And most of the time, it's they don't have enough profit to scale. They can't just grow because of the profit, I would say, limitation. That's what I've seen between 30K and I would say 50K lock. It's not necessarily that frequent to be there for a while. If you're there for a while, then maybe you're not necessarily looking at the right problem. But
Right.
let's say that's the case, then this problem would be more of optimizing your backend and looking at those three elements that actually I mention this like all the time. You have your AOV, you have your conversion rate, and you have your CPC. You have how much you pay per click, and then you have the amount of conversions, and then you have for how much. Playing on your price or offer, your conversion rate or your CPC, you should optimize your profit levels to the next level. If I was to increase a little bit my conversion rate, a little bit my CPC, a little bit my AOV, and a little bit my backend, I should be more profitable. If I'm more profitable, then question would be, why didn't you reinvest in the ads rather than why aren't you able to push more? So it's really,
Mm.
I think that's going to be my view. I'm curious about your view in terms of the same kind of, I would say, perspective. So what do you feel like
Yeah.
is kind of the limiting factor?
I think sometimes it does come down to, the perspectives because like I know a lot of founders when they launch, they're kind of like, doing it as a side hustle, or maybe they're doing it with their partner or they're doing it with their husband or wife, whatever that is. And so they have this like, maybe they've built this little business, they're making a little bit of money and they're kind of just like speaking amongst themselves between two people that have between them like next to no idea. And then between the two of them, they're trying to solve the problem for the next level. And I think that's
So
probably
you
one of the
think
biggest
that you feel
challenges.
like it's more of like this like kind of stubborn, or like I don't know what's the term, but they just feel like they know a little bit and they don't want any more. Like I would say they want to just do what they know without necessarily looking at the market. Because I've seen this as a problem. Do you think that's a problem? Like
And
they just
I know
don't
he's,
want to.
yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And I think in that stage, sometimes you have that kind of dangerous level of ego in terms of you think that you know because
Yeah, and you don't believe
you
anything else. Everything else is
you've
not.
made a little bit of money and you're like, don't tell me what to do, mate. My store does 35,000, does 40,000, does 50,000. Don't try and talk to me about ads, mate. I've got the ads sorted, you know. And I think one thing that was interesting in the mastermind that I went to recently with Patrick was this concept that he shared in terms of just like when you're in a situation where you're kind of like overwhelmed or you don't know what to do or you're stagnating, chances are you're usually sharing and kind of listening to people in your environment that are kind of below you in, where they are earning or their business growth or their business scale. And that usually, like if you're, for example, like a 5 out of 10 in terms of like certainty and clarity about the business and your future and what to do, and then you go and speak to people around you that are like, 4 out of 10 or 3 out of 10, they're going to pull you back down, right? And so then you'll be less certain, you'll feel more overwhelmed, you'll be like, I really feel like I don't know what to do now. This is really getting too much. Maybe I should shut this business down. And he was like, the number one thing that you need to do is reach up to people that are far beyond you. Reach up to the founders that are making 100K, 200K, and they will look at what you're doing and just be like, oh yeah, just that, or just I remember that. Just fix this thing. And it makes it seem so insignificant. And it also makes you feel a little bit stupid for sitting there and like just stewing on the problem over and over again. And you regain so much clarity about like, that's where I want to go. I want to go to
Yes.
100K a month. I want to go to 200K a month, not to these people down here who are telling me to stay small. It's like that's the safety zone.
Yeah, actually, I think that, and we talked about this in the past in terms of your environment would play a big role in
Oh,
shaping your results. And if you're, let's say, around people that are, let's say, working full time and they don't take risk. I understand that, that might be here the situation for a lot of people kind of into that, let's say, hybrid situation, building the business and working full time. And you're gonna get a lot of, I would say, comments and kind of view on what you're doing is risky
mm,
and it's not giving you returns. And you're gonna also see it's not getting you return. It's like you're putting a lot of effort versus other
correct.
things. But reality is actually your environment, if you were to go to, let's say, just people doing 100K, 200K per month, they don't have that like that same environment. They pretty much everything they do is a business and they make in 10x the volume that you have and in profit
Yeah,
and what they're thinking about is how to be bigger in terms of the business. So they're already getting that dream outcome that you want. But that dream outcome
exactly.
problem is you're looking at others that they have different dream outcomes and they're telling you, hey, this is like what you should do. But in reality, their dream outcome is probably just like 10K and you're like you want to do a million. So you need to look at their dream also like who are you talking to and
It's
what they're telling you in terms of advice. And that's my view, like pretty
so
much and
hard.
in terms of like environment and again, I know it's a little bit aggressive, and I mentioned this a little bit in the past, I think to you particularly and not to others, but it's just really on like I like to cut all the noise and environment when I
Oh,
see that I don't have. I'd rather not have like noise than just have like wrong advice. So I really look at can I get like to the next level by learning from someone? If I can't, I'd rather not just have advice at all. Or when I'm looking at the person that's giving me advice, I'm looking at hey what are you actually doing? If you're a doctor, I don't want to be a doctor. So that's not the route I want. I want to really look at
correct.
the profile that I'm talking to. If it's a coach, then you have media buying expertise. If it's like I'm joining a mindset program, then I'm thinking, hey, what did they achieve? For example, if you're looking at the next level, you always want to look at results, not necessarily talks. And I think that's
Mm,
that's a main element and overall in shaping your results. It's really looking at that next
absolutely.
level. And I think you believe the same thing, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because you also like when you and it continues to happen at different stages, like over and over and over again. Even when you think like you're like a big growth mindseted person, like when I was at this mastermind with some individuals, and there were some people there making $300 million a year, like $250 million a year, and it was really interesting because I'm in this room and I'm like talking to a couple of these guys, and they're doing like 250, 300 million, and I'm kind of sitting there and I'm like, I'm finding this very hard to have a conversation. I'm super uncomfortable because I'm like what
The gaps
uh,
are big. I feel
right?
like there's like a big gap.
It's such a big gap, and so I'm just like I'm kind of just like clutching at straws a little bit, being like, how do I relate? How do I communicate? What are the topics and subjects? How which things do we talk about? And it was really interesting because I would turn and have a conversation, maybe a few moments later with an individual who might be making like $2 million a year, right? And it was interesting because they would be talking to me like I'm some big shot and wow, man, this is amazing. Can you teach me some things? And I just noticed in myself during that time, I'm like, this is interesting because I'm finding this really comfortable and I'm finding this really easy and I'm finding this like this is nice to stay here and talk to the guys and teach them things when I'm like you need to be over there speaking to those guys that are making you uncomfortable because they're the ones that are going to get you to that next level. Very, very interesting. Yeah.
Yes, and I think that that's actually always something to seek, like the comfort zone. Like when you feel like, hey, I'm comfort, that's not good. Like you're kind of at the, it means that you're stagnating, or it's like something is like your growth is limited when you're not, I would say, in that, environment that's pushing you. And in particular, you mentioned the gaps, like, hey, the gaps here might be just you're looking at another, let's say, business that's doing 100 million or really big volume. Like, hey, how did they do this? It might be also you're just launching a business, same thing. Looking at other stores doing 50, 100K, you hear about all these results and you just don't know how to do it. Like, hey,
Correct.
how can I get the results? I hear about these, let's say, in YouTube, in all the ads, like people talking about making 10, 20, 50, 100K. That I don't know how to do it. And it's the same thing. You're kind of coming back and I'll just do my job and it's not like e-commerce is not real and so on. That's kind of the same thing at the comfort level. It's like, hey, it doesn't work, just scams, right? But in reality, if you get in, you'll learn, you see the gaps because evaluating the gap, I think is another thing. Like I think because you're more experienced, you know that you can kind of see the gap. Like, hey, this guy's doing
Exactly.
100 million a year. And I know that there is a gap and I need to kind of understand the inputs and ingredients to get there people starting out, they don't have that experience. So they're coming in like, hey, they're just not working, they're just leaving. They're not seeing the
Yeah.
gaps. So I think
Yeah.
seeing where you're like lacking alone is scalable, like it's a skill that you can leverage. And
Mm,
I think that's something that a lot of people starting out they don't have just because they don't have business experience, in my opinion.
mm.
I feel like it's the same thing, right? In terms of just
Oh,
view on the
absolutely. And I think I was listening to I think it was Hormozy was saying something like this where he talks a lot about like how much he invests into education, right? And he's like, I invest every like just about every single dollar I have into continuing to invest into myself, right? And until the money that you're generating from your business or your mechanism or whatever that you're doing, your e-commerce brand is too much that you could possibly continue investing it into mentors and coaches, then you're kind of like, all right, I'm making too much damn money. I can't even spend all this stuff on education. I must mean I'm pretty damn good. And I think it's interesting because people go and they go and invest into a program, invest into a little mentorship, and they go, oh, I've done that thing. Oh yeah, I've done that e-commerce coaching thing. I've done that e-commerce mentorship thing. And it's like the amount of money that I constantly invest into myself, into different mentors and people and programs to constantly level myself up because I'm like, I want to know the skills. And once I know the skills, you can't take those things away. It's like they are
yes.
going to stay with me regardless of which business or what I'm doing, which industry. I'm like, I know how to do the fundamentals, and it's very, very important. Yeah.
Yes, of course. It's actually when I think about like the same thing, but the loss that you have in terms of revenue and opportunity if you don't do it. It's like pretty much if you're right now thinking, let's say I'm paying 50K to learn something. Particularly, I'm always thinking about like how much I'm getting in terms of returns. In ecom, I see people not seeing that gap. Like you're paying
No.
50K and you want to make a million, that's a good deal. If you're paying 50K and you want to make, let's say, 10K, that's not a good deal, probably, if you just make lifetime 10K. But if I was
Yeah.
thinking about just investment perspective, I'm putting 50K and I'm looking to make a million. Is it worth it? Absolutely. No person I think on earth, you call them, hey, come in, I have something that would make you a million, just need to pay 50K. I'm like, hey, that's a great deal. I'll just pay it right away. But people
Yeah.
are coming in and like, hey, 50K is too much. I'm like, is a million a good target for you? It's like, but what's too much here? Is it to get to a
Exactly.
million? And when you think about the gaps in terms of earnings, you're like really scared. Like if every person would discover this, they're just gonna be like more people in. I'm like, hey, it's just probably people are not taking more risk, and that's like entrepreneurs, I would say, kind of profiles. But it's really
Mm,
seeing that you're losing if you're not making more by default,
correct.
and
Correct.
you're investing a little bit to get. Like I would say, education is probably a crazy ROI, a return on, I would say, investment or ROI.
It is.
It's just because it's just you're paying on something that's just gonna give you more in the next ever, like until you die. So pretty much the best returns in my opinion. So yeah,
Well,
I
I
would
mean, if
probably yes. Sorry, go ahead.
if you think about it like in comparison to like ad spend, for example, like say for example, you go and invest into ad spend, like, and each month you get a 4x return. But the thing is, you have to spend next month.
Yeah.
Like you invest into education, and then maybe in the first month you make no return. Maybe in the second month you make, 2x the return, but you don't invest any more money. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that's the
Uh,
thing. Like it's insane. I think about some of my clients that I've worked with for like the last like 3 years, 4 years, some even 5 years, and they've probably paid like either the company or myself like maybe 100,000, maybe 120,000, right? And I'm like, their companies have made 5 million, 6, $7 million. I'm like, that's not too bad of a
It's a
return.
good deal. It's like a you pay me 100K, I pay you like I give you like the tools and elements to get to 5 million. So it's a great return. And keep in mind, they're
Yeah.
still gonna make money in the next 5 years, and it's all
Correct.
gonna be an investment of that 100K that they put in, and then let's say 10 million. And over time, the investment is gonna go down and down. Like the values is gonna be higher, and that's I think.
Mm.
I look at it like, for example, people would come in and like, hey, I want to invest in crypto. I want to do this kind of, let's say, these things that are much more, I would say, volatile. I'm like, hey, Bitcoin would go, let's say, from 50 to 100K. I can take you and I can double your revenue and your, profit level in the next month. And I can do this every month. So you're kind of a crypto on your own and you need to grow
Correct.
yourself. So I think
It's
that investment is much more, I would say, bigger. It's like 100, it's like I can guarantee that we're going to get that outcome and it's guaranteed. Would you
mm,
invest in
mm,
something that's, again, you control? So it's not the market. It's not something that's, I would say, like more of a, I would say more of a risky. It's like you control it and you can double it and you can even go higher than any cryptocurrency that you heard about. It's you. And you're
mm.
the market. That's I think that's my view on it particularly. So
Yeah.
I think that investing in yourself would always get you higher returns because it's you. I can't take this
Yeah.
away from you. You saw the technique on how to make money. You can just make it more and you can come back and buy everything you
Correct.
want. like
Correct.
to invest in things.
I think there's probably one caveat to it, and I've seen this, and I was observing this also because I've done this myself, and it's like a real kind of like loser tendency, like it really is. And it's so say for example, and I've done this personally, so I'll talk through my own experience where I had this problem like trying to solve for running YouTube ads, right? And so I went and bought this like YouTube ads program. It was like $15,000, and I participated in the program kind of like with the skeptic, almost like, oh yeah, I'll see how this goes. I'll watch the videos.
Not sure.
I'm not gonna attend the calls because they're early in the morning. I'm down here in Australia. It's quite difficult, and I'm gonna speak to the account managers and the people that are actually gonna support me. I'm gonna question everything that they're doing. I'm like, have you run YouTube ads? What do you know about YouTube ads? Who are you to even be talking to me about YouTube ads? I want to speak to the senior person, right? And the experience that I had with the company was really bad. And it was genuinely because of my own fault of that type of skeptic nature because I didn't actually participate. So I think the one thing that I would also just heavily drill home is like if you are like, looking for information, looking for strategy, like don't just pay the money and don't commit. There's a very big difference between like participating on the bench, sitting on the bench and keeping the seat warm, as opposed to being on the field because, business is not a spectator sport. You have to be on the field all the time. So I think that's probably one caveat that I would say that despite people maybe committing to themselves and investing into maybe education and building their knowledge and their skill set, like you have to play the game. Like you have to actually play the game.
Yes, of course. So I have the same view. Like if you're coming in and you're like, hey, I'm not sure about it. Keep in mind the person that's winning, they're sure. And they have that
Correct.
confidence that you're
Correct.
lacking. And they're not wasting time trying to understand if this is gonna work or not. They're gonna waste not actually they're not gonna waste time. They're gonna spend their time looking at how to optimize their business and they're gonna grow much faster because just they don't have that, let's say, question. You're just thinking about how can I win?
Correct.
How can I do it like fast? And it's always about learning and executing. And I've seen this many times. If I was to look at a person that's
Mm.
successful versus a person that I would say not getting the result they want, most of the time is they don't have the same mindset, but also they're not doing the same things. If you're coming to any program, regardless of the program, it might be really, I would say, an average program. Like this is not again talking about eCom capital. I'm talking about just anything you do in life. If you're coming to that and you're coming with the mindset of I'm going to be successful, you're going to succeed. Now, if I was to put you in an ecom capital program where you have the best of the best and you have every tool to succeed, and then you don't succeed, then it's going to be probably because you didn't put in the effort. But if you come
Correct.
in and you just, I would say ecom capital, we're kind of pushing the limits on that side. So you're kind of coming in, and
Agree.
even with, I would say, a little bit of skills, we can push you to the next level, right? But if you're coming in and you're like, I don't want to do anything, and we can't
Yeah.
push you. It's just like we're kind of at that limit. But in reality, if you're coming in and you want to learn, you want to grow, you're gonna get there. It's like really a question of applying systems and using that. It's very easy, I would say, to
Mm.
win. You do things every single day. And if you do that, you have the
Mm.
tracker. We talked about that earlier. You know how to master these things. That there's no question. Just do the work. And if you do it, you're gonna be successful. That's my view on it.
So what do you think? Like, so we're going to do a big business planning workshop with my clients and all of the community coming up here on the 22nd, 23rd of February. So it's going to be a 2-day workshop. We're going to do business planning for the whole year. Super excited to kind of go through that and run that whole strategy with people and unpack and just create a lot of clarity for the future that so they can see where their business is going to be, which skills they need to acquire, how they're going to get there, which resources. We're really going to go into a whole lot of clarity around that. From your perspective, looking at this whole model that you kind of talked about there in terms of, 80% of the market goes to these people who just have all the skills. And then the quote unquote, like, losers, they sit down the bottom there and they just like squabble and then they quit. How can people, from your perspective, what would be a couple of the key behaviors, things that people could do that you'd be like, you need to just do this year if you really want to win? What would that be?
It's going to be really about committing, and committing is really removing the other outcome. And I think Alex Hormozi really talk about this a lot. It's really focusing on one thing. You want to master something, focus on it, and really look at all the ingredients. So I would say commitment and putting in the effort and actually the ingredients to win. That's the thing I see kind of a gap, and particularly learning from people that they already did it. So you don't have to really guess things. So if I was to tell
Yeah.
you, hey, we have tomorrow a game and you're gonna get exactly like all the plan, like the strategy. You need to do this, you need to like when you see this, you just do this. And I'm giving you everything, the map, and you don't come to the game, like would you win? I think
Mm,
so. It's really, or you come in and I told you that you need to have, let's say, really this, let's say, exact, I would say, combination to play, and you're coming in like, I don't have it. I'm like, you can't
yeah.
play. So I told you about like everything we need and you didn't show up or you didn't bring in the right tools. So I think those are the things, particularly when I tell you that most of the time in ecom, it's all about practice and it's about consistency. So it's really, you can think about it as a professional, I would say, sport. It's really, if you come in and you do things every single day, you train on, like, you do the ads, you do the creatives every single time, like you practice your, let's say, the
Yeah.
shooting element, the technique, everything. You're gonna be a master and you're gonna know how to do it. And you're gonna close your eyes and you're
Mm,
just like, I know this, I know that, I know this, and I can kind of run this business. And I think that's gonna be the most important, I would say, element is commitment and consistency. If we add the two, there's no limit. You can really get
mm.
everywhere. Like any target you can hit it, which is gonna be a question of not like an if, it's just a when. Like we're just gonna put in the ingredients and we're gonna get there. So that's my view.
Correct.
Do you think the same thing?
Correct. The commitment piece, definitely. I think that's probably one of my. I did a whole training on just the word commitment because it's such a big thing for me, and I reflect a lot into like times of my life where I've been very unhappy, and I've also been achieving a lot of like average results, and even suffering a lot in my like life, personal life, and then also business. And it's always a byproduct of times where I'm either committed to a whole bunch of different things and I'm letting everybody down because I'm doing them really poorly, or I'm not really committed to the things that mean the most to me. And then as an extension, like I just feel like I'm suffering as a person. And so I'm just so big on commitment onto one thing. And I think like if this is the year that people can commit to their business and cut off, similar to what you mentioned, everything else, even family members, like over Christmas time, I cut off a whole bunch of my family members because I'm just like, you bring no benefit into my life, and it's kind of like ruthless and it's kind of savage. And one of my other mentors, he says this thing, and I really like it, but I think in particularly in Australia, there's this big culture of like, you know, work-life balance, like lifestyle, like I want to have this side hustle and all this kind of stuff. And when you're starting out, you don't really have the luxury to do that. I mean, you do if you want to take a lot longer to achieve any form of success, you know. And so I think that like for the first 1 to 2 years, you have to obsess. Like you have to like it's not like a just take it easy and do a little bit here and do a little bit there. Like if you want to get great really quickly, like you need to, number one, like you said, commit massively to it, but then also just like really bring it close to you. Like don't let any of that stuff get away. Like obsess on the details, read and learn all the information, study all the nuances. And I think the mindset sometimes that like, oh, I'm just not like a creative person, or I'm not like an ads person, or I'm not like a so you don't like money? It's like the people that say like I'm not a numbers guy, but you're in business to make money. And I'm like, how? Where's the logic in that? You know, it's like I'm
We need
really bad
to
with
really
numbers.
work on. So I think that's always like a gap to focus on. Is like right now, what do you want to like? What's the destination? Because every person is coming in like, I want to make money. What's your destination? How much do you want to do? What's that ideal life you want? What
Correct.
exactly like?
Correct.
Think about it. Is it worth 2 years of your time to do that? 2 years, or you'd rather have what you have right now, which I'm probably assuming it's like very painful for the rest of your life. Would you make like that gamble? Would you? And if the answer is no, like I wanted that like 2 years outcome, then it's gonna be very specific. Like you can't really be like, hey, I want to actually exercise, I want to like be in shape, and then you don't want to go to the gym. It's like okay, just it's
Exactly.
you're not gonna get results. We're gonna be clear on that. And so that's
It's
my
very
view.
interesting. It's very, and I think like I hope that you know people listening to this can maybe use this as a mechanism or a catalyst to change. Like I know for me, for example, like I had to go through even more suffering and hardship, and I had to like lose every single dollar I had. I had to go into $150,000 of debt. I had to be sleeping on my friend's couch. I had to have all my furniture pulled out of my apartment because I couldn't afford it. Like that was the extent that I had to go below zero to be like maybe this is not the way. You know what I mean? So like, I just
Actually,
hope if you're listening to this, it's like,
I do relate to this so much. I actually had the same kind of, I would say, experience. I burned so much money in the ads and I tried so much to learn, and it felt like I can't move from this level. It just feels like I'm just always negative. I was never positive technically at one
right,
moment. Like, hey, it's just a waste. And that pain actually helped me really keep the momentum because I'm like, okay, I need to unlock this next level. I need to unlock this next level. But I feel like what I did in one call, and I mentioned this, I was explaining conversion rate. I was like, this took me 2 years, and you guys are gonna
Mhm.
learn it like in a one session. 2 years. And I was
Correct.
like, literally,
Correct.
do you guys understand it? They're like, hey, I understand, I understand. I was like, okay, took me 2 years. 2 years. Think
Yeah.
about this. 2 years to understand that there's a conversion rate, and I'm running ads, and I'm paying money, and I'm burning through capital. I don't really know. Like, there's no conversion rate that I think about. That was very, very, when I think about it, I could have had a call with a person a little bit more experienced, like, hey, do you know, like, it's not working. Can you help me? Like, hey, what's your conversion rate? What's conversion rate? And I would have learned this
Yeah.
2 years. It's still like, it's really painful. I still have the pain right now thinking about this. So really, that's
Yeah.
my view on it. So you really need to learn and pursue that next level by just not focusing on only the ingredients you have, but things that you don't know. And there are a lot of them. So I would really
Mm.
seek that side, particularly in terms of commitment and consistency.
And I love this story Naira mentioned to me recently. She said she was listening to a book or some resource, and she was like the difference between I think it was a kind of average story or like a great story is, say for example, I had something really bad happen to me. It's like when someone's sharing something to you and they're like, like, I had this issue, I lost so much money, and it was really really hard, and that's the end of the story. You know what I mean?
I'm
Like,
like, I'm like,
it's
probably my answer would be good. Take this, use it. We're gonna end up like
but it's
kind of
like
talking.
nothing came from it versus like the story that's like I lost a lot of money. I almost went bankrupt, and I found this new energy and drive, and I built $100 million company. It's like if you can transform the hardship into something epic, people are always like, "Wow, you're the hero of the story. You're not just the participant in the story." That's like, yeah, it was really tough, really challenging, really tested me a lot over the last 6 years, and now I'm here. Cool. That sounds
Yeah.
boring.
I'm
You know,
actually thinking that the ingredient to success is failure, which is very, very, I would say
it
probably
is.
surprising for some, but it is like you need to technically fail a little bit, which can be failing not necessarily because your business is failing. It might be just, you're in a situation where you're not making money. That's already a failure,
Correct.
right? It's the problem,
Correct.
right? So, failing is part of the winning, and people don't want to fail because they're afraid of people looking at them like, hey, you're failing for now, but you're
Yeah.
failing forever otherwise, right? So like I would rather just right now fail a little bit and learn something big rather than fail my whole life just to kind of remain in that environment of they accepted me at this failure level, and I don't
Exactly.
want to move. And I think that's a big thing. And keep in mind, I mentioned this all the time also in some calls, it's positive to have that outcome, which I know it's like weird, but it's a case. Like you have a bad situation, your ad account was disabled, something was off, something like it's really bad in that moment. But if we reflect on it after a month, it's a positive thing. We built some backup
Correct.
plans. We have a new ad account. We have some other things that we kind of discovered in the process. You have a solid business in the end. Your business just went from 10K to 50K because of that event. If I was to come back and really do the journal, that's why I do the journal. It's like, hey, this event actually brought us so much positive, and it was a red event. It was like a bad event. So I
Correct.
think it's overall like the view on success versus failure.
Well, it's also like Ray Dalio talks about it a lot in his book Principles, and he says he's like, I believe that entrepreneurs should go out there and fail as much and as often and as big as possible without wiping out, to actually see success quicker. It's like how quickly, and he talks a lot about investing into. He's like, I will never invest into a business or a founder that has not gone bankrupt because they don't generally go bankrupt again. You know what I mean? It's like, well,
They've
you've got
built
that out. You've got that out of the way. You're not going to go and do that twice. Let's go and invest. Let's rock and roll. It's like crazy. Yeah.
it's really exciting. Like I would say, whenever I think about failure as positive, it just got me like I'm excited, like because everything you
Correct.
do technically, it's kind of positive. It's what you not like. If you just don't do anything, that's what's negative. So I'm like, I need to
Yeah.
do more, and particularly I would rather fail and learn every single day. Like if I'm failing, good. If I'm feeling like this
Mm,
is stressful, good. If you think about it, like every person is stressful. Stress is positive, and it's like it's really pushing you to the next level and learning a new
mm.
skill, learning a new business, and growing something that's much bigger than just what you have. You need
Yeah.
to think about it. And you're failing if you're not making the million, in my opinion, or you're not doing that like that dream outcome that you want. If you're not there, then you're failing by default.
And I think in terms of that it's challenging sometimes because people think that they want the success, but when you get the six, it's so short. You know what I mean? Like you make that money and you hit that 100K a month and you hit that $1 million a month, you're like, okay, sweet. Like it's over before you know it. And so the pocket that you're in right now in terms of like suffering and pain and like learning and going through the shit, it's like enjoy it because you're going to be here a lot longer than that little fraction of a second at the
Yes.
top. It's
It's
crazy.
it's also all the ingredients you need that suffering to get to that million. So if I was to remove the suffering, I'm not sure you're gonna get the million. So it's like a little bit on that side as well. And the suffering might be again, you wake up, you're like, hey, I'm not getting that dream outcome that I want, and I can't
Yeah.
see a potential where I can get it in the next 10 years. If that's the
Mm,
case, then you should start looking at different, you know, paths. And to do
yeah.
that, it's going to be, in my opinion, really about that, investment in yourself and growing to the next level, your mindset, but also your actions and your commitment. So yeah, that's my view.
Yeah. Super exciting, very stimulating conversation, Hammond. As always, very, very, very good. I hope that you guys listening have taken some wisdom, some nuggets, and you feel perhaps stimulated in the mindset that you've got for the year ahead, and also maybe some of the vision, maybe some of the things that we have covered on the session today here have been valuable for you. Hopefully, it's given you more kind of insight, more clarity for what to do into your business and how to actually win massively in 2025. We're going to be here, really going through a lot of specifics as far as strategy, scaling, brands, and a lot of awesome stuff that's going down in the Ecom Capital community. But thank you so much for listening. Hammond, any final parting words, my friend?
Excited for the next year or this year technically, and really growing all these elements that we mentioned. So conversion rate, CPC management, AOV. So those three core elements to grow your business.
Mm,
So if you look at the next episodes, we're going to tackle all of this, particularly sharing actual like things that we're doing that you can help you kind of scale to the next level. So that's kind of my focus all the time is really sharing what we're doing, not necessarily just telling you like theory about things. It's really this is what's working. And
very
all you
good.
have to do is just add in commitment and time and we're gonna get there. So that dream outcome is gonna be real.
Let's get some dream outcomes. Love it.
Yes.
All right, Hammond, thank you so much, my friend. I'll see you again very soon.